Doing good, how are you?
Good. Gradually learning Windows 10 a little bit more. Do you have anything you can send me for today?
I might. We're just working on systems of equations, still reviewing algebra.
Okay. Better if you send me what they gave you. Because algebra is pretty broad. I obviously have a lot of algebra problems, but rather you send me stuff.
Pictures now.
Okay. You use a spreadsheet at all, Cole? Use Excel?
No, I don't.
Or Google Sheets?
Google Docs? No.
Well, Google Docs is for Word documents and Google Sheets is for spreadsheets.
Yeah, I never use any of that.
I've been struggling with it, but I think I finally have it understood.
Email is sending.
Okay.
Just sent.
There it is. Start with the first one here. Hi, Kanana. Sorry, Kathy.
Very good.
You tell me where you want to begin. If this is fine.
Wherever.
Does that point work for both of those equations?
The top one, yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. About this one.
Yeah, because it is.
Bottom one.
Bottom one?
Bottom one give you.
Oh, that.
Got to be a little careful here because this is the x-coordinate, that's the y-coordinate. And what they've done is kind of fooled you. In other words, is y, we're going to substitute the x-coordinate. Well, that means y should be equal to minus 5, and they've got y being 2 when x is minus 5. So for B, it does not work. That ordered pair is not a solution. Kind of amazed that I can't blow this up anymore. guess that's okay. I mean, as long as you can read it.
I have my paper in front of me.
All right. I'll shrink my other side and maybe that will help. Solve that by graphing it. How do I graph the bottom one?
It's just a horizontal line through the y of 2.
How do I graph the top one?
Subtract the 3x and divide by
And
negative.
there's an easier way. In other words, I have the top one in standard format.
Mm-hmm.
When it's in standard format, it's easier to graph it by finding the x and the y-intercept. How do you get the x-intercept? In other words, the x-intercept means y is 0, right? By definition.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the x-intercept?
The 2/3.
Okay, so I'm going to go over here at 2/3. I know that there's a point on my graph right there. What's the y-intercept?
2/5.
Minus 2/5. So I'm going to go down there and graph minus 2/5 on the y-axis. So I know my top line goes through there. And now I can connect those 2 points. And there's my intersection point. Now, notice that when I graphed the top equation, I never knew what slope was. Because all you need is 2 points to graph a line. And you don't need slope. But it's easier to graph because graphing the x and the y-intercepts is really quite easily. You just substitute 0 for the other variable. Now, here's the problem with coming up with a solution based on a graph. Do you have any idea where that point is?
No idea.
Exactly. So, what's a much better way to do this problem? I understand that she requested a graph, but what's the best way to solve for x and y?
Use substitution.
Okay, so I got 3x minus 10, substituting 2 for y,
Add the 10.
2, 3x equals 12, x equals 4, if, and they already told me that y equals 2. So there's my solution, 4 comma 2, which I could come up with exactly when I do it algebraically, but not so exactly when I do it graphically. So I'm inclined, I mean, maybe if you have this kind of paper that's already gridded up and stuff, you can come up with a solution graphically. Can you see number B?
Yeah, I'm already doing it.
What's the best way to do it algebraically?
Algebraically,
I mean, I know you can do it graphing because all you have to do is graph those two and they're already in y equal mx plus b format. So wherever they cross is going to be the solution. But what if I'm going to do this algebraically? What's my first step?
You can use elimination. So put it in.
It's actually an easier way. Always notice that if one equation is y equals something and the other equation is y equals something, those are the same y's. So therefore, minus 3/2 x minus 3 has to equal the other one.
Plus 5.
What's the next step? Solving it algebraically.
Add the 3.
There's actually a better next step. What's complicated about this equation? There's fractions. What can I do to get rid of the fractions immediately? In other words, the only thing I really want to get rid of is the denominator.
You can add the 3/2 and create 4.
Well, no, the 3/2 has a multiplier, so I can't do that. But I can multiply the left and the right side of the equation by 2 immediately. What's that give me?
That gives you 3x minus 3 equals...
I got to multiply that by 2 also.
No. 3x minus 6 equals x plus 10.
Now notice how much easier that is looking.
Mm-hmm.
So always get rid of your denominators as a first step if you can easily, which you can in this case. All right, I know you know how to solve that. We don't need to go there. Let's take a look at the next one. Graphing inequality. This one, let's do graphically because I'm not real sure what to do algebraically. It's hard to define the region that is defined here algebraically. And that's why graphing it is such a good thing to do. So, how do I graph the top one? Look at it, it's in standard format. Let's do it by x and y intercepts.
Oh, okay.
What's
So,
the x?
y equals
On the top one only, on equation number 1, or inequality number 1, what's the x-intercept?
X-intercept is -4.
What's the y-intercept?
-4.
Is that a dotted line or a solid line?
So that would be a dotted line.
Which side of that do I shade? Top or bottom? And always answer top or bottom, never left or right.
Bottom.
Well, oddly enough, it's not that easy to tell when you have it in this format. In other words, it's very easy to graph.
Oh, it's top.
Well, yeah, I need to get y something. Well, I know that y, negative y, is less than x plus 4, which means y is greater than negative x minus 4. Well, the line we just drew is negative x minus 4, and y is greater than, so I'm going to use horizontal lines to designate the area. And since we just found out that graphing the y and the x-intercept doesn't get the job done, let's go ahead and convert this second one to y equal mx plus b format, because then we'll know how to graph it, which side to shade, which is the difficulty.
All right.
So the second one, convert to mx plus b format. What do you get? You get minus 3y greater than or equal to minus 2x plus 3. The next step? What is it? Y is what?
Y is less than or equal to 2/3 x minus 1.
Good. Now we can graph that. It goes through -1, has a slope of 2/3, so I go up 2, to the right 3. Solid or shaded, solid or dotted line?
Solid.
Above or below that line?
Below.
So I'm going to use vertical stripes here. And the only region that satisfies both of these is that region right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. It's actually a really good one, that problem, because it illustrates quite a few things. It illustrates that when we're graphing inequalities, we really need them to be in y equal mx plus b to figure out which side of the line to graph on. Okay, let's not do b, just because it's very similar. Let's jump to 4a. Solve this by substitution. Tell me what the next line to write is.
2x plus 24 minus 6x equals 4.
Yeah. I actually prefer you to write it like this. Now, I know you're smart enough that you can do the math 2 steps at once in your head, but if you want to cut down on mistakes, this is the better way than this. Because occasionally when you do that in your head, next time you're going to want to do 3 steps in your head, and you're going to open up the possibility of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know you know how to solve this. Eventually you're going to get to this. Okay?
Okay.
Do one by elimination.
A, if you multiply the bottom equation by 3, you can get 15x plus 6y equals 15 times 3 is
What's 3 times 20?
60.
How many less is this?
3.
So what's the answer?
Oh, so it's just 57.
Okay, now, you can either choose to do this step or not. If you have only 2 equations and 2 unknowns, you can pretty much do it like that. But if you start dealing with 3 equations and 3 unknowns, it really becomes helpful to number your equation. In other words, I would have started out numbering that 1 and numbering that 2. This is still 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Then you eliminate the negative 6y.
Tell me whether I need to add my 2 equations or subtract them. Because you can do either one. If this was a plus 6y on the top, then I would just subtract the 2 equations. But
You need to.
it's in perfect format to add them, so what's the answer?
That would be 21x.
22x?
Yeah, 22x equals 66. So that'd be x equals 3.
How do I get y?
Take one of the equations and replace x with 3.
Okay, which one?
Let's do the second one The 5x plus 2y.
Middle one, the one that has the smallest numbers. This 2 right there.
Yep. So it would be 15 plus 2y equals 19. Subtract the 15 and you get 4. Divide by 2 and you have x equals 2.
Y equals 2.
Y equals 2.
X equals 3. Okay.
Yeah.
You think you're pretty good on this? Oh, shoot. I should not have done that. You can't say that I'm that fond of Windows 10. I much prefer Windows Vista. This seems to me you have to do so much more. All right, let's see. The following problem, write the equation that represents the sum of the angle measurements. What's the top say? Can you get that in front of you?
Sorry, what?
Well, I'm trying to figure out problem number 6.
Okay.
First of all, what are the angles? It looks like this is x, that's y, and that's x. Write an equation that represents the sum of the angle measures of a parallelogram and use your equation and the equation shown to find the values of x and y. Okay. How do I start this off? It's a little different, but what do we know about a parallelogram?
All the angles equal 360.
Okay, that's one thing. That's true of all quadrilaterals.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we know specifically about adjacent angles?
They're equal.
Do they look equal?
Oh, adjacent angles, they're supplementary.
So x plus y equals 180. That's all I need to solve for x and y. What's the answer for x and y?
X is 60.
Which makes y, if it's supplementary?
120.
Okay. The perimeter of a rectangular garden is 300. That's going to be the x measurement. That's going to be the y measurement. So how do I write the perimeter is 320 yards? What equation will tell me that?
2x plus 2y equals 320.
And the length is 8 yards less than 3 times the width. So spell that out. The length is equal to what? 8 yards less than 3 times the width. X is the length.
I know.
Okay. And it wouldn't even matter if you had it mixed up. So how do I write the length is 8 yards less than 3 times the width?
Can you use, I don't know.
X is the length. There's 3 times the width minus 8.
Okay.
Now the one thing you have to be careful about on questions like this is they always put the thing that's being subtracted in front of the word problem. Notice that they didn't say the length is 3 times the width minus 8. They said the length is 8 yards less than 3 times the width. Well,
Yeah.
that's what that says right there. The length is 8 yards less than 3 times the width. So you have to know to put that 8 yards in back, not in front. Not 8 minus 3w, or y, it's 3y minus 8. All right, now it's a simple question to solve. What system are we going to use to solve that?
Substitution.
You got it.
Substitution.
You got it. You're pretty well up on this stuff. It sounds like you've remembered your algebra pretty good. Cool. I'll talk to you next Monday.
Talk to you next Monday.
All right. Bye-bye.